Hello everybody, my name is Brian Nunez, the brand director for Losi and TLR, and next to me is Frank Root, the category manager for all of our performance products. And both him and I are equally excited to finally be able to tell you guys about our brand new 22S sprint car. So what we have here is the battery and charger version and then non-battery and charger version. So I want to set these aside a little bit and let's go through what people are going to get when they open up their box.
Yeah, so with the 22S Sprint car, you're gonna get a fully complete built RTR with all the electronics installed. And with the battery and charger version, you're also gonna get a 2S 4030C IC5 battery pack. And you're gonna get the Spectrum S120 charger, the power adapter to charge that, and the IC3 to IC5 adapter to be able to connect the battery to the charger. You're gonna get your handy dandy little instruction manual. I tell you guys all to read it, but who knows what's gonna happen there. And then you get some numbered sticker sheets. So these are gonna allow you to replace the numbers on the vehicle and be able to put your own race number on there if you have a special number for your racing. We have some battery straps here. These are made for shorty batteries that are the thin lipos, so they're a little bit shorter than the stock battery straps, which we'll show you in a little bit. We also have some battery stops that mount in the car for those shorty lipos. Some shock tools, a little 4-way wrench. We have an extra servo saver spring clip, so you can make your servo saver a little stiffer than stock if you'd like. A little bit of hardware here in a bag. And then we have a 25 tooth solid servo horn here. So if you're racing on a higher grip surface or you're a little less worried about the durability, you can go to a solid servo horn here, improve your performance a little bit. And then last but not least, something I'm especially excited about is we have a nameplate for the Sprint car. So you will be able to remove the wings and run a wingless Sprint with a proper number plate and sticker sheet that comes with that.
That's perfect. That's what I'm excited about. So now that you just kind of gave everybody a kind of inbox to detail, let's swatch these two, get rid of all the inbox stuff, because I'm really excited about this one feature. And then the second one is how easy it is to work on this thing and remove it. So let's come back and make this thing wingless. All right, so there's two things that I'm particularly excited about and want to show you guys right off the bat. The first is that you can run this wingless, and it's pretty simple to go from a full winged sprint car to a wingless sprint car. Go ahead and show us how quick it is to do that, Frank.
You got it. We're just gonna take the top wing here off, and then we're gonna take the front wing off. It's only 12 screws all together, and we're just gonna get it done. All right, so we just took the wings off the 22S Sprint car here. The only thing left to do is to go ahead and put the nameplate on, and we'll just take a quick second here and get that done.
Look at that. Those are the details that matter. Those are the details that we're super proud of, is actually making it a true wingless car, which is amazing. So the next favorite feature of mine, this car looks complicated to work on. And that's one of the things that we often have to battle here is we focus on scale, making sure that it looks like the real race car, but also performance. And sometimes scale means that things can be a little bit difficult to work on. But if I want to access my electronics and my battery, how simple is that? Show him.
Can't be any more easy. Pull the lever back and pull the cage off.
Boom. Amazing. But the fact that that is a completely separate unit, the wings are a completely separate unit, gets you down to the fundamentals of what RC racing is, which is simplicity, being able to access your stuff, performance, tuning, etc. I think that's what's going to make this thing a huge hit and make it one of your favorite features as well. So now that we showed them the two best features, in my opinion, let's put that back on and let's go through kind of the external features of kind of what makes this sprint car unique to anything else out there in the market.
Yeah, so we really wanted to nail the scale appearance, like you said. We have a driver doll here on the interior. We wanted to design a sprint car that has full down tubes. And for me, it's really important that, like you said, you take the wings off and it still looks like a wingless car. It's not really just kind of the wings covering up some flaws in how the vehicle looks. Tail tank, the header pipes, the Nerf bars, and front bumper and rear tank guards all in chrome. Just the right chrome, the right look. Like the headers are like a carbon, like matte chrome instead of being a shiny gloss chrome like the Nerf bars, because they wouldn't generally be the same color on a real sprint car. Keeping with the scale appearance, we did Hoosier licensed tires, front tire, rear tire. We went into great detail to make sure that the tread looks correct. And rather than going with a standard 2.2 inch sized wheel, we decided that to make the tire look correct, to make it look like a proper sprint car, we needed to go with a 1.7, 2.2 tire. So we went with a smaller diameter rim mounting on the outside so that you could get a lot more face into the tire, because it just didn't look right until we did that. And then on the right side of the car, we have wheel covers. We have different color options that are going to be available, but we wanted to cover up the wheels just like a real sprint car would and just really nail that scale appearance.
So one thing that you touched on is what's great about this. It looks ready out of the box, right? Like you mentioned, the different colors, the chrome Nerf bars, all this stuff. But what I'm also really excited about is two things. One, polypropylene, not Lexan, right? And what that means is, if you guys are familiar with our ProMoto MX, these are actual panels that are made out of true composite plastic, not Lexan, which gives us two things. One, extreme durability on the wings. That is huge. But two, one thing that we're also going to be doing is, if you go on Losi.com, if you go over to our brand and our downloads, you're going to be able to download the die lines for this so that you can create your own graphics. Maybe your buddy's a creative artist and has a printer that can make your own graphics, not just to these, because we're also going to offer the plastics in all the different colors, your Nerf bars in different colors, your headers in different colors, all these things to really make it yours. Even the cage is going to be white so that you guys can paint them whatever color you want and really make the car look like your real sprint car or the sprint car you wish you had.
Yeah, so like Brian mentioned, the wings and the body of the vehicle are like an injection molded polypropylene rather than being a vacuum formed polycarbonate. It does a few things for us. It's just far more durable, much more resilient, especially with a winged car when you're flipping and you're landing on the wing and you're putting a lot of stress on it. We did extensive testing on this, and we didn't replace or fail a single polypropylene part. The durability is really unrivaled by polycarbonate. The difference is polycarbonate, right? We generally paint it on the inside and it's clear, so you can kind of see the paint come through, but that gives us the ability to use wraps. We saw a lot of people customizing and decorating their ProMoto MXs with custom wraps, put their own personal number on it, and you'll be able to do the same thing with the 22S Sprint car here.
Perfect. Now, one thing that I really want to showcase here is this rider doll. Something that has never been done before. We got pretty close with the ProMoto, but the ProMoto was a little easier, if I will use that word, because it has gear to cover up. But this is an actual more detailed helmet, hand-painted, full harness, steering wheel, gloves, the whole thing to make it look really sharp. Let's talk a little bit about that and all the work that took.
Yeah, so we were designing, it kind of started from the outside in on the design somewhat, right? So we got the wings done, we got the cage done, and we kind of, we're starting to go into more detail. We kind of got the ladder of the cage done back here and started working on the seat. And we decided that it wasn't going to be okay to just use a vacuum formed doll on the inside. One, we weren't using vacuum forming anywhere else. And two, those models never really look quite correct. You end up with a molded helmet anyways. So we ended up doing a molded driver for this, not a rider doll, but a driver, because he's driving this thing. But yeah, we got helmet pads, we got the gloves painted, it really stands out instead of just being like solid black. You can see the rider's helmet in the hands when you're driving around the track. You got a steering wheel, a steering box, the full seat mounted in. So you got like a proper interior. This is really like an open cockpit type of car. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna see in there, and we wanted the details to match on the inside how they match on the outside.
Awesome, great. Anything external feature-wise that you think we should mention before we get into the nitty-gritty as to what makes this a performance car?
I think we hit all the big points. Let's jump inside.
Awesome. Let's take off the cage. My favorite feature. Check it. Love that. All right. So now that we'll start kind of on the front and work our way back. So First, let's talk about suspension geometry. Any changes, and where did they come from? What's the root of this?
Well, the root of this car is the 22S platform, and that is 100% derived from our TLR 22 platform. We've been racing for decades. We've been winning championships. We know how to make a car work well from the geometry design standpoint. So this is taking some of those cues from how we're working on the TLR stuff and kind of designing it into the car. We have a little bit of a shorter front arm here and a different offset of the front wheel. It's some geometry that we found in the 10 scale off-road stuff to work very well, and it translated very quickly and directly to the sprint car here. So the rest of the caster block and spindle is pretty consistent with the 22S stuff that we've had, but a different wheel offset than previous 22S vehicles. Right
off the bat, I noticed steel turnbuckles, adjustable, right? Let's go really quickly into the benefit of that and how that takes you back in. That's a huge bonus when you talk about track performance, right?
Absolutely. With a Losi product, we know that people are going to end up wanting to push their performance. They're going to show up at the track. They're going to want to dial in for the conditions or whatever. The ability to adjust camber is really important on the vehicles, and camber is kind of the angle of the tire as the car is going to lean. With like an off-road vehicle, you generally run a little bit of negative camber on both sides. But now that we're going primarily left turn only, right, we're going to run some negative camber on the right, a little bit of positive on the left. But that's something that you can tune to match your tire wear to the track conditions to maximize performance. You also have the ability to adjust the front toe and the rear camber. And the front toe, you know, can just make the steering a little bit more sensitive or a little bit smoother depending on how much grip or what steering feel you want. But really, that's the difference between a Losi product and a lot of other product out there, is that we know that people aren't just getting this to go on the shelf. They're getting it to go make the most of it, and having the ability to adjust on their car is really important to us. And it's one of the things that really makes it a Losi product in my eyes.
Now, we can't go past this point without talking about these shocks. I mean, I think Losi is known for its great performance and its great shocks. They look to be aluminum, which is top-notch, threaded. Talk to me a little bit more about the shock package, and also the tuning you can do with these shocks.
Yeah, very similar to the camber, the adjustable turnbuckles, right? Adjustable threaded shocks in aluminum, I think, are really important for a proper Losi product. When you adjust the spring collars, you're not necessarily adjusting the tension on the spring, but you're adjusting the ride height of the vehicle, and that's a very important adjustment. Let's say if you're going out to like a looser outdoor track, maybe has a little bit of bumps out there, a little bit of aging from the weather, you don't want the ride height a little bit higher so your chassis is not bottoming off the track. But if you're on a higher grip track, something that's smoother and has more grip, you might want to put the spring collars up a little bit, lower the ride height, get the center of gravity down, and just make it a little easier to drive and a little faster. The unique thing with the oval car is you can also use the spring collars to adjust the crossweight or the wedge in the car. So you can tighten the car up or you can loosen the car up based on how you adjust the collars. So if you're going to tighten the car up, you can go down on the right front collar or down on the left rear collar. If you want to loosen it up, opposite on the left front and the right rear. You can change the shock oil. We have a spring set that's coming out, so you can change the spring rates. You can really dial in the car for your needs, your purpose. We spent a lot of time developing what we call the kit setup, or the setup that comes on the RTR. So we know it's going to be a great place to start for you, but we want to give you all the tools necessary to take this product to the next level and to the best level that you can.
Awesome. Now, continuing to work our way back, let's talk a little bit about the servo. Earlier, we touched on not only the extra spring that you get, but also you can get rid of that servo saver entirely and go to a fixed horn. Let's talk about, what it is box stock. At what point do you want to add the spring, and at what point do you think you want to add the actual solid servo?
Yes, so I'm going to start here. We got a new servo in this product. It's all new S684 servo, and it's basically a 25-tooth spline version of the S620 servo that's in the Pro Moto. And what we did with this servo is we re-geared it to have a little bit more speed and a little bit less torque, kind of laid it in the speed a little bit. On the oval, we need it. So we have 0.14 speed, we have 7 kilograms of torque, which is still a ton for a two-wheel drive 10 scale vehicle. So we got that really powerful, quick servo in the car, metal output gear, so you're really solid there. We put a servo saver on the car because I think most RTRs should have a servo saver. We're going to have a lot of entry-level people driving this car. There's going to be some wrecks, there's going to be some accidents, and generally the servo saver is pretty stiff and it's not going to flex unless there's an impact. But if you go race on a really high grip track, maybe something like Hot Rod Hobbies in Saugus, California, you're gonna have more grip and it's gonna make the servo saver maybe feel like it could be a little bit stiffer. That's why we have an extra servo saver spring in the kit, so you can clip that onto the servo saver, make it a little stiffer. And if you're finding that you need something even stiffer, you can go straight to a solid servo horn. And it will kind of put more load through the steering system, but it is gonna increase performance. And I feel it was right to put that in the RTR as the included option straight on the car. So that's why we gave you guys 3 different options. So servo saver, stiff servo saver, solid servo horn. Again, dial in the 22S Sprint car to fit your needs.
That's exactly it. So get it out of the box, enjoy it. Don't be afraid to clip the wall or clip another car out there. But as you actually get better as a driver and more confident as a driver, you can add the spring. It's going to give you better steering feel. And once you feel you're ready for it, go solid, get the most out of your steering. But of course, what you're giving up there is the protection that the servo saver gives you. So again, we want to put that power in your hands. We don't want to limit you in any way. And I think that's what's great about Losi, is that's the true race inspired meaning. Is this is just a baseline. Where you go from here is truly up to you. Now, let's talk electronic wise. Stay on the right side of the car here. Talk to me about the receiver and the brushless system that's in this.
Absolutely. So included is the SR215 receiver. It's a 2-channel receiver. It does have an extra couple channels, so you can plug in a personal transponder or a fan. You're ready to go, but only 2 of the channels send signal. For me, we do a lot of 2-in-1s in different product, but for this product, we know that it's gonna end up at some RC tracks out there. And we know that some people already use different radio systems or higher end systems. So we wanted to make sure that we had a receiver that was separate from the ESC, so you can upgrade to whatever your needs are. Also with the SR215, it's an upgraded receiver from us from our normal SLT radio receiver, and that allows the SLT radio that comes with this to bind to this receiver, and it also lets upgraded Spectrum transmitters bind through DSMR technology, right? So your IXSR, your DX5C, your DX5R can all work on and bind directly to the 22S Sprint car.
That's pretty big, because upgrading your transmitter opens up your electronics, right? From a digital perspective. So now you can dial in exponential curves on your servo. You can set endpoints. There's so much more you can do by upgrading your Spectrum transmitter. And when you upgrade that transmitter, there's no need to purchase a new receiver, because this car is ready for it. So I think that's big there. And just to reiterate something that you said, typically we put 2-in-1 systems in vehicles out of simplicity, and also it allows you to sell you the vehicle at a better cost. We know these are going to the track. We know you're going to want to test different KV motors, etc. So having a 2-in-1 system, yes, it does increase the price, but it's going to save you money in the long run when it comes to upgrading motors as you kind of get faster on the track. So that's kind of the key benefit there between a 2-in-1 and not a 2-in-1, right?
Correct. The next thing that we'll get to is the brushless ESC and motor. So this is a 45 amp Firma, Spectrum Firma brushless ESC. It works absolutely great in this application. We don't have a fan on it. We were running in Saugus in July. It was 110 degrees outside. The Speedo was running at like 110, 112 degrees. So we're completely dialed in with the Speedo, no issues at all. Really comfortable in terms of its temperatures and everything. And then we have a Spectrum Firma motor. This is a 3300 kV motor, 4-pole. It has a 1/8 inch shaft, so it takes regular 48 pitch pinion gears, which is what the spur gear is on this vehicle. And the motor, for me, we spent a lot of time testing power systems in this. Originally, we were thinking maybe it could be brushed. We weren't quite seeing the speeds that we wanted to. And really, my hope is that this kind of can turn into a spec class at some point. And we wanted a speed that was quick enough for an experienced RC racer to really enjoy it, and for it not to feel slow and for it not to get boring. But we needed it easy enough to drive also for somebody who's new to get into racing. So a couple times I took my 12-year-old son out, said, hey, here, try this out, bud. And we really found a perfect speed. The motor itself is capable of much quicker speeds than the vehicle's gonna do out of the box. So out of the box, we're 26 miles an hour, put 25 plus on the box. But it's a really good track speed. It's very raceable and very fun. But like you said, the system's capable of more. Again, we went not with the 2-in-1 so that you can swap out the ESC and the motor. If a track by you decides to go 17.5 sensor systems, you can swap that out, whatever it might be. But I think that people are going to find that the speedo and motor in here are very capable. They have a great feel. They're adjustable, and you're probably just going to see a lot of people stick with this system because it's going to make a great spec class speed for this product.
Yep. And for those that want to go into faster speeds or mod, again, it's a solid foundation to grow from here, right? Whether that's a pinion change or a higher kV motor. To Frank's point, that ESC is highly capable. It's nowhere near being taxed or at its limit of what it can do. So just with simple motor swaps or pinion swaps, you can get to a much higher speed. Again, another way that we're giving you guys the power to kind of tune the car and adjust the car to your liking and to whatever you like to do.
A couple other little things that we did on the speedo that I didn't mention before is we do have the motor wires plugged directly into the speedo. So rather than having a wire come from the speedo, female bullet, male, there's not a ton of space inside this car because we need to keep the cage narrow for the scale appearance. So we did put bullets on the speedo so that the wires plug right in. And then the switch for the speedo, this is one of my favorite features on the car. It actually sits here on the left side of the chassis, goes under the motor and comes out the side. And you can see here, we have a little cutout on the cage. So you have access to the on-off button with the cage on. So again, the cage is super easy to take off, to swap out your battery, work on your motor, whatever it might be. But even thinking, okay, I got to turn this thing on. I don't really want to have to pull my cage back off again. We're just trying to, we're the users. We're going out every week. We want this thing to be awesome and easy to use. And those are the types of things that I think really take our products to the next level.
Agreed. Before we get into the transmission, let's get into this battery tray because it gives you a lot of options from standard battery packs to shorties. You also mentioned earlier in the box comes the different elastomers for the shallower batteries. So let's just go through that and kind of what the benefits are. Also moving your battery back or forward.
Yeah, so this battery tray is really cool. It's part of the chassis design and it helps act as like a chassis stiffener and a chassis brace in the middle. And one of the things when we started the project is we identified we need to be able to fit full-size 2S lipos. Like that's just a requirement. We did a lot of work trying to shorten up the steering bell cranks, get everything fitted. We wanted to be mid-motor and fit a full-size battery. We were able to accomplish that. So this battery compartment, this battery tray fits a full-size 2S stick pack, and that's what's going to be included with the battery and charger version. It's a 4030C. But we know that if this is going to go to the racetrack, a lot of people that race have a shorty battery. When we talk about a shorty battery, it's the same height and width, but it's shorter in length. So it's about 96 millimeters instead of 138. So what we did is we added some battery stops that can screw in here or here. So you can run your shorty battery all the way in the front, in the middle, or all the way in the back. You get some adjustment there. And one thing that's really cool is if you're on like a high grip surface and you run a shorty pack in the front, you actually have enough room to put the ESC right behind it. So you can really kind of get some left side weight going. Also, one thing is a lot of oval spec cars or cars that come out of the box, they don't have an offset battery. They got the battery right down the middle. We knew that we were going to have better performance if we could get some more left side weight. So we opted to put the battery on the left side and get some more left side weight so we can get some better steering through the corners. And then the last thing is the elastomer straps. So the elastomer straps installed on the car, they're ready for a standard height 2S battery. Some of the short and length shorty batteries are also what we call slim batteries, and the height is lower. Well, the elastomer straps, they're not short enough to really hold those batteries tight enough, so we put shorter straps in the car. There's also 3 locations for those straps to fit. So if you are running a shorty battery, let's say in the back, you can move the front strap to the middle location or vice versa.
And I feel like I'm saying this a lot, but we're giving the consumer so many options. When they upgrade, they're not going to be limited by us. So even if you go buy a different shorty battery, that's also a different height. You got what you need to be able to run that battery. And one key thing here that I want to mention again is just the overall layout. As we get into the transmission, again, mid-motor, huge for high traction and oval racing specifically. Being able to not limit people and use their current full-size packs, that's a lot to package into a sprint car, something this narrow and short. So kudos to you, the team, and the engineers for getting that done. The next thing I want to talk about, small feature, but again, something that just opens the opportunity for this car, is I see some holes here right above the motor. What are those for?
A fan, yeah. If you're running somewhere where it's hot, or if you're running a class that, let's say, doesn't have a limited gearing and you want to go faster, the faster you go, the hotter the motor gets. Well, if you put a fan on there, it's just a 30 by 30 millimeter fan, pretty common in RC. It'll cool the temperatures of the motor down, and then you can put more gear on it and go faster. So
Perfect.
Yep, common for racing, and no reason why it couldn't be included here.
Perfect. Now let's go into the transmission, which is key. Any racer out there knows you can have the most power, you can have the best steering, the best tire. You need the transmission, you need the differential, you need the slipper. So let's talk through kind of the transmission layout on this and some of the key features and benefits heading into that all steel drivetrain as well.
Yeah, so for us, it was important to get mid-motor like I talked about earlier. We wanted to have the best balance of the vehicle, carry the most corner speed, be the easiest to drive. And really, we know that kind of a rear motor car at this point is just going to push. It's just going to understeer. And the best balance of the car is to have mid-motor. So we have a mid-motor stand-up transmission. We think that that's the best balance for across all tracks. We have a very low grip, what I would call low grip, kind of outdoor loose dirt pin tire track here in Southern California at the dirt. And then we have a really high grip track up at Hot Rod Hobbies in Saugus. We did a lot of testing at both places, and this was the layout that worked out the best. And then for us, when we're doing, an RTR vehicle specifically, and something that we think is going to get a lot of runtime, a lot of packs on it at the racetrack or whatnot, we need the drivetrain to just be bulletproof. Like, people do not want to be pulling their diffs out and fixing this or fixing that. So we have all metal gear drivetrain, except for the spur gears. Spur gears plastic, but all metal gears in the gearbox, gear diff, oil filled, sealed, right? So it's just, you're not going to fail any of those gears ever. We've seen ultimate durability with those out of the other 22S vehicles that we've sold in the past. But like the rest of the car, we want to give everybody the options, right? This gearbox was designed with TLR parts in mind. You can fit a TLR ball diff straight in here. You can fit in the TLR idler gear. You can fit in the entire SHDS, so super heavy duty slipper from the TLR product. A little bit of a mouthful, but you could fit that straight on this vehicle too. So you can really take your drivetrain from, bulletproof to full TLR race mode, and it'll all drop right in.
That's awesome. So one of the gears that you mentioned, just for those that are not RC fans, we're going to get a lot of new people attracted to this product, right? The spur gear that he mentions being plastic is the main gear that's beneath this cover. And of course, that's on purpose. You have an aluminum pinion. If that were metal to metal, something needs to give. So if there's one area where you want a plastic gear, that's the spot where you want it, right? All right, so now let's talk about a little bit what's underneath this cover. We talked about the spur gear, but there's a slipper in here, and let's talk about that and the features and benefits behind it.
Yeah, so we have a dual disc slipper clutch in here with the same pad material that we use on the TLR vehicles, which is just great. And what we found is that with these types of drivetrain, like, you're not slipping the slipper out of every corner to make traction. It's really for protecting the drivetrain or protecting your grip, your wheel grip, from bumps in the track or impacts, or maybe you're cartwheeling and you're on the throttle and the tire touches down. Like, you don't want to just rip through a gear, right? So you have a slipper clutch there that'll give a little bit of give to help match what the wheel speed RPM is versus like the RPM of the ground. So if your wheels are going at 30 miles an hour and you hit a bump and they spike up to 40, when they land, you don't want them to, your vehicle's still going at 30, and you need something to kind of absorb that 10 mile an hour worth of RPM. So that's what the slipper clutch is really for.
Perfect. So now that we talked about the transmission, talk to me about the driveline.
All right, so we have CV axles in this vehicle, just like a TLR vehicle, and the TLR parts will fit right in also, so you can upgrade to those, try different drive shaft lengths, CVA lengths. So yeah, just really robust, tested and proven drivetrain design, and we just rolled it into this vehicle because we know that it works.
Awesome. And then I'm looking at some rear toe as well.
Yeah, so one thing that's unique about like a dirt oval vehicle is that since you're only turning left, you can use the rear toe to help maximize performance. So on this vehicle, rather than just having 3 degrees of toe on this side and 3 degrees of toe on this side, we kind of tilted the toe a little bit this direction. Helps the rear kind of steer around the corner and helps the car turn. We also went with 10 degrees of total rear toe, so there's 3 on this side and 7 on this side. And what we found is that we were going to our lower grip tracks and we just didn't quite have the rear grip that we were looking for. So this is one of those things, right? We go out, we test, and we want the car to be awesome. We have some option parts that we're coming out with that let us adjust the rear toe. We find that more rear toe is better. We go back, we retooled the stock parts, and we made sure that we got that extra rear toe in there, because I want everybody to pick this thing up and have as good of an experience as I know that they can.
It's awesome. So let's throw that body back on here. My favorite thing. And one of the things that I want to mention, because you've highlighted this a few separate times, is we already have Losi option parts for this, and there's already TLR parts that fit it to get you to the next level as well. And I think that says two things. One, you can buy this today, start upgrading today, start racing today. But two, I think what it does is kind of goes to show that it is truly a TLR kind of inspired vehicle. The fact that those parts fit on here, it's not just us saying, oh yeah, it's based on the 22. No, we're literally looking at the transmission, the toe, the setup from our TLR full race vehicles and applying it to an RTR, putting it at a price point that hopefully gets a lot of new people to the tracks, and hopefully gets them into RC, especially the young ones. They can learn about toe, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, what gearing does to a car, what's camber, all this stuff. That's the beautiful thing about a hobby-grade RC car, right? So with that, thank you so much for your time. Anything else that you might have missed that you want to mention?
Yeah, I've been a sprint car fan all my life. I used to go to Ascot when I was a kid, Manzanita in Paris, and I follow non-winged and wing stuff. And as soon as we kind of knew that this project was on our radar, I kind of was super excited to get in here and work on it. And we had a great group of guys. We had Travis in engineering and Mike helping out, and Ryan Kephart ran most of the project. Gil Losi Jr. and myself jumped in with some help testing, and we really threw our whole team at this one because we know it's a really important project for a lot of people who are passionate about dirt oval like ourselves. And we knew we had to nail it, and I really feel like we did.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned Ryan Kephart, so let's get Ryan Kephart in here, who's the product developer behind the product, ask him a few questions, seeing if we can pick his brain a little bit during the development process of this. So let's go there next. Alrighty, so now next to me is Ryan Kephart, the product developer behind the brand new 22S sprint car. Thank you so much for taking the time, Ryan. I really want to pick your brain mainly on the development of this product, starting with the tires. Now, any racer out there knows that tires is 90, if not 99% of how your car reacts and performs. And I know you did a lot of extensive testing on the tires. And we ended up with a certain compound, but also offering a separate compound for those racers. Talk us through a little bit about the testing first, and then what scenarios would they want to buy the optional compound tires?
We did a lot of testing, like you said. We went to several different tracks, some that had very high grip, almost concrete-like. We also did on-road tracks as well. And, we went out and did some loose, loomy style dirt. And our process was, we wanted the best tire for an all-around kind of track, like the majority of the people. So longevity was also another kind of important factor when it came to that. We didn't want, our customers to have to change their tires out every, 2 runs or whatever it might be that you typically see in like off-road or whatever it might be. So we developed the tire in 2 different compounds, a soft and a medium compound. We included the medium compound because most people were going to probably take this on the streets the first few times and, get a feel for the actual car maybe in front of their driveway. But it also worked very well in those higher grip scenarios. When we did do our testing on the looser style dirt, we wanted something that could perform just as well as the medium did on higher grip. So we came out with a softer compound as well. On launch, we also decided to offer the wheels separately, so Proline can develop a whole shot for even those looser style tracks.
Perfect. So that's a good point that you mentioned, is the tires that perform the best also wear the fastest, right? So we can give you a much better tire in the box, but that means you have to replace them every run or two. So finding that perfect balance is, I think, the key part about your job, is putting yourself in the customer's hands of, okay, what's acceptable from a replacement perspective, right? Is it 10 runs, 20 runs? What do you think is the average wear of this tire? Do you think people can get 25, 30 runs on a track racing easily or more?
Oh yeah, I think 25, 30. We did a lot of testing, and we saw about 25 to 30 packs with the included tires. So, and that was on a high grip, high abrasive track.
Which is a good point. I mean, 25, 30 may not sound like a lot, but that's a lot of track time.
It is.
A lot of laps.
It is.
That's probably 4 or 5 days of track visits, really. So it's a good number. And again, if you guys want to experience more performance, check out the soft compound tires, right?
Yeah.
Now, the other thing you mentioned, which is key, Frank and I touched on, not only the Losi accessories that are already available for this, the TLR parts that already directly bolt onto this, but Proline. Now that we're good partners with them, they're just down the road about 60 miles down in Banning, California. I'm sure they have some great stuff up their sleeves. I'm not going to disclose anything, but this is not just the end for this car, right?
Absolutely not. I mean, we took our time with this car from the ground up. Like, when we designed it, we also designed a lot of really great option parts that are specific to the 22S Sprint car, but like you mentioned, we have additional TLR parts that fit directly on this 22S platform.
That's awesome. Now, how long did it take you guys to develop this product from start to finish, and what was your favorite part about it?
From start to finish, it typically takes us about 18 months. I think we went a little bit longer on this one because we wanted to get those details exactly right. This is something that's never been seen, in this type of detail on the market. So I was super excited to dive into those details, and that was kind of my favorite part. Is like, as everything comes together, you're like really excited to see like, hey, this thing really looks like a real sprint car. From the driver doll, I mean, that was like probably my most exciting moment, just seeing that doll inside the sprint car going around the track. I mean, you couldn't tell if it was RC or real.
That's awesome. That's what I'm looking forward to, is just all these awesome videos and photos of this thing just having a double take, right?
Yep.
Neck breakers. I've already said that my favorite feature is this. So I appreciate you guys working on that. But the biggest thing that I'm proud of are those headers. One, because they were Ford headers before, guys. I made them into Chevy headers by doing that.
Sure did.
Yeah, so that's my thing. But other than that, Kephart, I want to thank you, because this is going to be the next level for Losi. You guys continue to push the boundaries of the brand, not only focusing on the detail, but not losing grip of what we're known for, which is performance. So thank you so much for your time. I'm super excited to see these out on the track. Any last words that you might have?
Enjoy, everyone. We worked really hard on this. Like Brian said, the quick release is amazing. It really saved us a lot of time, and I'm sure it'll save you guys time too.
Thanks, everybody. If you guys want to learn more about this product, feel free to check out the YouTube channel. We're going to be doing a lot more content based on this. We also have a lot of other products there, but more excitedly, we'll see you at the track and hopefully some real sprint car racetracks soon as well. Thanks, guys.